This is the Arctic sea ice in the North Pole region as captured in September 1984. And this is what it looked like in September 2019. This is NASA's recorded data, showing how rapidly the ice has melted in just 40 years. Official scientific records show that Arctic sea ice is melting at a rate of around 12.2% per decade. Now, to stop this melting, a Dutch startup called Arctic Reflections is launching a mega project, as ambitious as colonizing Mars. Their goal? To refreeze an area of 5 million square kilometers, an area so vast that 5 Indias can fit inside it. And they aim to do this within just 6 years. And here's the surprising part. They're planning to spray salty water over the icy Arctic region. Now, for those unfamiliar, some background. Traditionally, countries use salt brine, a salty water mixture, on roads to prevent ice from forming. So it seems ironic that the very substance that melts ice is now being used to refreeze it. Sounds weird, right? But it's fascinating. Think about the scale of this project. In India, we struggle to keep even our Himalayan glaciers frozen, leading to floods and destruction. But these scientists are planning to refreeze an area 5 times the size of India. So naturally a question arises. Why do we even need to bother? The Arctic is far away. How does it affect us? Well, that's where most people are wrong. The 6-year deadline isn't something the scientists randomly decided. According to recent estimates, by September 2030, we could witness the first summer with no Arctic sea ice at all. And here's the worst part. NASA scientist Christina Pistone warns that if this happens, the warming effect of the carbon dioxide we emit over the next 25 years will skyrocket suddenly after 2030. This is based on satellite imagery and data, which you can see on screen. Remember how extreme this year's summer was? Temperatures touched 50 degrees C. And between March and May alone, over 25,000 people across India were hospitalized due to heat, with 56 reported deaths, just because of the heat. And similar patterns were observed globally. From 2014 to 2023, we've had the 10 hottest years in recorded history, and 2023 was the hottest year ever. Many cities around the world are literally sinking into the sea. Take, for example, the villages on Indonesia's Java Island, completely dry before 2005. But now children swim to school, and mothers wait for low tide to do household chores. The same is happening in Bangkok, Thailand. The poles sticking out of the water are electricity poles. There used to be a village there. And cities like New Orleans, Virginia Beach, USA, Lagos, Nigeria, Dhaka, Bangladesh, and even Mumbai, India, are all at risk of submerging due to rising sea levels. Once the Arctic ice fully melts, we could see these cities disappear before our eyes. So yes, saving the Arctic sea ice is a do-or-die situation for humanity. Now back to the Dutch startup Arctic Reflections. What exactly are they doing? Their project is so bold that even the United Nations has recognized them and appointed them as the global leaders for Arctic sea ice restoration. They began their work in a place called Svalbard Archipelago near the North Pole and part of Norway, one of the fastest warming places on Earth, heating up 3 times faster than the global average. So, Arctic Reflections brought small diesel-powered water pumps to Svalbard, which sprayed salt water from beneath the ice onto the surface so it could freeze faster in the cold air, creating an extra ice layer. It's similar to what you may have seen on History Channel's Ice Road Truckers, where rivers are frozen every year using similar techniques to allow trucks to drive across. But here's the catch. As mentioned earlier, salt water is usually used to melt ice, so isn't this plan risky? Could it backfire? Valid concern. That's why in Canada and Alaska, they use fresh water, not salt water, to build ice roads. But in the Arctic, even salt water freezes because the ambient temperature is 40 degrees C, which is much lower than salt water's freezing point, around 20 degrees. So even salt water will solidify quickly there. And there are other benefits. These pumps are compact and powerful, making them easier to deploy than previous ideas like covering the Arctic with reflective glass beads or white fabric to bounce back sunlight. Also, Arctic Reflections knows that diesel-powered pumps emit CO2, contributing to the very problem they're trying to solve. So they plan to switch to wind-powered pumps once initial trials are complete. Still, like every global environmental initiative, this noble effort has its critics. Some call it overhyped or downplay the threat. In fact, many people still believe that global warming is a hoax, arguing that the Earth naturally goes through hot and cold cycles over thousands of years, and humans aren't to blame. But let's break this down scientifically. In 1850, when we began recording global temperatures, Earth's average temperature was around 13.7 degrees. Since then, especially after industrialization began in Europe, the temperature has been rising steadily, 0.06 degrees Celsius every decade. But post-1982, as industrialization exploded, especially with China, Japan, and South Korea joining the race, the average temperature began rising 3 times faster, 0.2 degrees Celsius per decade. Now, here's where 2 major misconceptions arise. 1. People look at today's average global temperature, 15.8 degrees, and think Earth is still cool. 2. The increase from 1850 to now is only 1.35 degrees Celsius, which doesn't sound like much, but that's misleading. Remember, global average includes both the cold of the poles and the heat of the equator. So if the average has gone up by wonders, it means some parts are heating by much more. Think of it like this. Your normal body temperature is 37 degrees C. If it goes up by even 4 degrees C, you call it a fever, a sign that something is wrong. Same with Earth. A 4 degrees rise is a sign of an unhealthy system. And once that starts, it triggers a chain reaction that keeps worsening, until all ice melts and the world descends into environmental chaos. So next time someone calls global warming a hoax, use these facts to shut them down.